So, update video of my latest developments on the WiPi netbooter image. So I've been working very hard actually recently on one particular aspect of it. There's a few new things that I've introduced since the last update. A few of them just very, very small, kind of cosmetic and navigation sort of improvements. So one of which I've got this little nav button here. This is just Chrome, but it's showing the sort of mobile experience. So if wherever you are on the list, you can just click on that nav button and it'll take you straight back to the top of the list. It's still got the snap to letters. If you go into a game now, it has the preview video within the screen itself, and clicking on the logo at the top will take you back one. It takes you back to the same place in the list as well, rather than going back up to the top, which is always a bit annoying. That's just one little improvement. Another one I've done is on the loading progress bar, because I always when I first started off, all I did was measure the data transfer rate between the Raspberry Pi and the Naomi console, and I worked out the average bit per second that it was sending, and then just did a basic calculation based on the size of the file. And now I've improved it now so that when the loading script's running, it sends a running percentage total into a temporary file, which is then read by the web interface. The web interface will then read it real time, so it shows you exactly how far it's got through to the loading process, and it works perfectly now, and also works for Chihiro as well. Because before I'd calculated it for Naomi, but actually Chihiro I think was a lot. I can't remember if it's a lot faster. I think it's a lot faster, because I'm pretty sure when I tried to load Outrun 2, and the game had loaded, but the progress bar was still chugging along. So it's all working 100% now, which is good. What else have we got? So look at options. So the old options are still there. The simple menu is the one where you can just click on a game and it will just launch. It doesn't go into the game preview screen. The power saver with a Pi turns off after 10 minutes. You've got single boot, which automatically boots the last loaded game. And now I'm supporting multiple DIMMs, so the single boot only works for your last loaded game on a particular DIMM IP address. So if you had multiple machines configured, you'd only be sending it to you'd be sending the last game that you sent to a specific system. The relay reboot, this is less of an issue now actually. I might take this out. It depends how many people still use it, because there was a new fixed Naomi BIOS that was released on Arcade Project's website, and that stops the issue where you can't hot boot games, and that's what this relay reboot thing was. It was you'd hook up the FanSense wire within the Naomi to a GPIO pin on the Pi, and when you launch the game, it sends a command to a relay which cuts the fan control, the fan speed control wire, and once that signal's dropped, the Naomi does a soft reboot. So that was a way of getting games to load. As I say, yeah, might leave that in, might take it, I'm not too sure. I'll leave it there for now. Time hack, that's to do with your zero pick. So if you don't have a zero pick chip for your NetDIMM, this will just continually send a reset, like a security reset command to the NetDIMM, which keeps it online. Video sound, you can toggle video sound on and off by default within the game preview screens. Nav button is that little blue button I just showed you earlier, where you can jump back to the top. Now we've got OpenJVS. Now that is a separate project altogether, which I've built support into this. And I can't take credit for any of it. It's all completely over my head and very technical. Literally all I've done is sort of automate a little part of this interface that allows you to make using OpenJVS a bit of a smoother experience via a GUI. And in fact, I can show you. I have on my top of my Pi 4, I've got this, which is the OpenJVS hat, the Pi hat, which is dedicated bit of hardware, which is absolutely fantastic. I used to use an RS485 serial adapter, USB adapter, which you then connect onto your. You have to connect a bunch of resistors and stuff to change the voltage on the line, and then that would attach to a sense pin on the Pi, and then just plugs directly into your Naomi or your Triforce, whatever JVS kit you've got. And it runs OpenJVS. The actual software runs on the Pi itself. So it's a good way of basically you don't need an I/O board. So that is like a little self-contained JVS I/O board, which is great. It also means, of course, you can use any controllers via the Pi. So actually, I've got an Xbox. Which one's that? I can't remember. It's one of the Xbox series controls, and it works great. So I can play driving games, I can play sports analog and everything else. So yeah, it's brilliant. I'm using that for testing my Initial D stuff. I've got that hooked up via a Sun PSU, so this is my kind of desk setup while I'm doing a bit of development work. And yeah, as I say, this Pi hat has been absolutely invaluable, and yeah, the geniuses behind it are Bobby Dilly and his colleague Red One, who designed and produced this, did all the software for it. It's a really slick bit of kit. Highly recommend that. Right, so yeah, that's refocused. There we go. So yeah, OpenJVS, that's all. Support's all built in for that, and that goes in. I can show that in the setup menu. Got another entry here, which is OpenFFB. Now that's a project that's been run by a chap who goes by the handle of Fredo Bedo over on Arcade Projects, and this is using a different third-party external board that plugs into the Pi, and you can hopefully use this in tandem with OpenJVS actually. So this will allow you to use things like Logitech wheels, and other kinds of any controllers that support Rumble. And the aim of this project is to give you realistic force feedback with your JVS game, so you can actually couple these two together and maybe eventually play games like Hour and 2 just via an Xbox controller and get a full Rumble support, which is awesome. The LCD mode hasn't changed, still supporting a 3.5-inch touchscreen and the old 16 by 2 line LCD display. Yeah, that's the MH. Just to clarify, it's an MHS35 family of 3.5-inch touchscreens, available everywhere. Amazon, eBay. They're about, I can't remember, about £20, 20 UK pounds, something like that. So not too expensive. The actual experience isn't particularly good. The screens are cheap for a reason. The technology is not really ideal. So the touch isn't really accurate enough, and it's a bit of a novelty, to be honest. I've been thinking of other things I can do with the touchscreen actually, and maybe just display some track mode artwork on it while the game, depending on which game's loaded, I could push some artwork onto the screen or something, or videos or whatever. So yeah, it's not ideal really. Much better suited to a mobile experience, which is how it's been designed. So we go back to the main menu and let's have a look in setup. So now, since the last time I did an update video, I think I've done the overhaul of the network config. So let's have a quick look through this. So previously, it was all set up to be a Wi-Fi hotspot. So the Pi will run as a Wi-Fi hotspot. You connect direct to the Pi. There wasn't really any support to add it onto your home network. I did add it I added a bit of it. It was a bit of a useless feature, to be honest, because it was a one-way trip. So if you wanted to go back to using a hotspot, you had to re-image the whole thing. And that was just the way that the DiaPi components were being added and removed. I've now managed to script this outside of DiaPi, so it's now fully functional. You can switch between a whole bunch of different supported network setups. So you can change the configuration of your Wi-Fi setup and your wired setup. It displays your current IP address settings here, your DHCP setup, the SSID you're connected to. So you see here I'm connected to my own home Wi-Fi. That's my SSID. Gives you a bit of information about the various different modes. So hotspot direct is the old style where you go direct to the Pi and the Pi is plugged into the Naomi. This is the way I've got it set up at the moment, where the My Pi is connected wirelessly to my home router, which I can access via my browser, but it's hardwired. As you can see, it's hardwired by that network cable straight in there. But you could, alternatively, you could hardwire your NetDim to your home network and just get to it via the Wi-Fi. So obviously, if your NetDim is connected to your router, your Pi is connected wirelessly to your router, you can netboot over the air if you like, which is a nice bonus depending on where you've got all your kits stashed. And then we've got hotspot router mode. Now this is where it gets a bit. That was the one I'm just describing, I think. Yeah, where you've got your NetDim's wired to your router and your mobile device connects via your router wirelessly to your Pi. Was it? Oh goodness, I can't remember. It's hotspot router mode. So that's when both are connected wired into your home router, and you can connect wirelessly either via the router and the wired interface or via the wireless interface. And home Wi-Fi router mode, which is where it's just purely wireless. Okay, what else have we got? So obviously in here, if you go into Wi-Fi setup, you'll scan your Wi-Fi just to pull out all the SSIDs, and then from the screen you can change stuff. You can also change the that's changing the IP address. If you go back into hotspot mode, you can also change the hotspot the hotspot SSID and password now as well. So I'm going to use the defaults. You can choose whatever you want. Right, back to there, back to wired setup, and similarly you can change, just add a IP address, subnet mask and gateway on there. Or we could use wired DHCP if you want, depending on how you've got it configured. Okay, what else have we got? So again, this was the same as before. Managed NetDims. This might be new. So the NetDims previously were just very static entries. Didn't really have proper support for multiple NetDims, which it now does. So you can edit any existing ones. Obviously, mine's offline at the moment, but if that would be powered up, when you go into the screen, it automatically does a little network check, and that would turn green if that's online and ready to go. If you try and netboot a game with no available NetDims, either you don't have one for that particular system, or the one you do have configured for the system's not online, it will stop you and say, hang on a minute, I can't actually send the game because I can't. And there's also, if there's no NetDims here at all, you can use a NetDim scanner, which will scan your home network looking for the NetDim port, and it will list any there and automatically add them in for you, and then all you got to do is change the system type for your particular machines. What else have we got? NetDim firmware update, that was there before, but I think did I change this? Yeah, I did. I integrated this with the new NetDim setup. So yeah, rather than it used to be like have to select a target and then send it, but now you can just choose your mirror. And I think if it was available, it would give you the options of sending either version 401, 402, or 403. So there. What else have we got? So there's the OpenJVS configuration, which I don't know that I've actually displayed this before. So this really requires some knowledge of OpenJVS, which is kind of out of scope really of this video. Yeah, it's best if you have a look actually on the OpenJVS GitHub page. That'll explain how it works and how you get set up. And this is the bit that I've been spending the most time on recently, which is the card reader emulator. Now, this is a series of scripts that were put together by a user called Winter is Coming, I think, on Arcade Projects. This thread goes back about 5 years, and I've had them integrated into my netbooter sort of images for quite a while now, but the interface has always been pretty basic, and it's not really very user friendly. So looks a lot nicer now. I've got a little graphic for each game that's supported. Got the initial the first version of Initial D Arcade Stage, or IDAS, Initial D version 2, version 3, One Gun Midnight Maximum Tune, Mario Kart, and F-Zero X. Now before, I used to just have a little entry for each card, which wasn't very interesting to look at, didn't really give you very much information, and it was up to you to remember which card is which. Now, there's been a few projects trying to get a realistic card interface. So let's go back a bit of history. So back when Initial D was in the arcades, I mean, I'm sure it's still available somewhere if you're lucky enough to find a machine. They used to come with a card reader, and the game has a story mode which you can't really complete in one sitting. It's pretty big. So they use memory cards. So you'd pay an extra credits worth of money, and it would give you a random artwork card from the hopper inside the card reader. It would then print the data based on your game progress. So it's got your driver name, it's got your car, your particular car and model. It's got a key. That I think is to do with those are like some online scoreboards you could go and you put your best times on an online scoreboard. I think that was like some kind of verification check for that. And then at the bottom you can see, not very well, but you can see it would print a little stamp for each track that you completed, and it gives you a racer level. But these stars here, these two initial D2s, and then that's an initial D3. That one, then you can see obviously that guy's pretty darn good. He's completed most of the tracks there. So I wanted to do something that was similar to this, and I'm going to show you how far I've got. So at the moment I've got initial D2 and 3 working because they're very similar games. 2 is working absolutely perfectly all the way through. So this is what it looks like. So what I've got some very kind friends who have full sets of the initial D1, 2 and 3 cards, unused cards, which they've very kindly scanned in for me, give me some lovely, nice, clean scans. I've then extracted all that card art and then put them onto the image. So when you go into the game and you purchase a card from the virtual card reader, it will give you a random card as if you were actually in the arcades, and it's got all the correct art on and everything. And then when you complete your game, it then actually prints your progress onto the cards. And the way it does that is by capturing the print packets that would have been sent to the card printer, are actually now being sent down this wire here. So the card emulator requires this cable. So there we go. So it's just a serial, like custom serial cable. It goes into one of these, which is a TrendNet. There we go, TrendNet USB to serial adapter, and I just plug it into the Pi there. So when the card emulator is running, essentially it's talking backwards and forwards to the Naomi as if it was a real card reader. And yeah, so when the print data would have got sent to the card reader, the actual physical card reader, it's been sent down the wire, which has been intercepted by a script, unloaded, decoded, and then formatted, and then printed onto a little virtual sort of transparency, which is then slapped on top of the card, all in code. And these are just some of the test cards I've been doing. This guy obviously is doing very well. He's got 24 stars, 24 racer level, but he's only finished 2 tracks, which is a little bit unrealistic. But yeah, like I said, just playing with the stars. I managed to get the 10 star, 20 star, whatever. Printed on there. This guy, yeah, he's got the cards are different. This guy just hasn't started the game yet. This one I was testing because on the original cards you could in theory finish the tracks out of the normal game order, and it would always print the icons in the same place. And the issue I had was the way I was doing it was I was just adding all the areas together, so it would print them one after the other and kind of fill in. You'd insert a missing one inside, but I wanted to get it running exactly authentically, so I've now got it so that actually they all print in the correct spaces. And these longer ones are actually made up of 2 smaller icons that I've had to kind of stitch together in code as well. And there's another one, that's what I did earlier on. And I was just messing around with some control characters just to make sure that my script could handle some strange characters. And this one was actually a brand new card purchased, and then I completed the first area, which is Miyagi, and then I got a racer star there as well. And that was just to test that, make sure that everything can be captured as part of one run, and then also it does incremental prints, because these cards weren't erasable, so it would just print on it, and the ink would be permanently on there. So Each time you completed a particular element, it would then, the print data that you received would only have that element in. So what I'm doing, I'll show you a little bit of the code. If we have a quick look. So what I'm actually producing at the back end of that is, for instance, this, which just shows you. So it's decoded the driver name from the print data. There's a couple of different lines for the car, the key number. That little dot there is just a control character, which it prints the key icon. The areas, now for that I've just created this little bit array, so as you complete each area, 0 becomes a 1, and then that will then print off in code. Racer level is just a number and a card. It randomly chooses a card image, so in that particular instance it's card 12. Yeah, and the same principle really for ID2 and ID3. The only difference really is are the icons. So my next challenge is going to be the original initial D, which actually has less to do really, because the racer level isn't included on that. There was just driver, car, and area cleared, I think, on those. So yeah, that should be a little bit simpler. So this has taken me probably a month of pretty regular coding to get my head around it, and I've had lots of help actually, because the arcade projects thread is fantastic. It's very, very long. It's a very long read, very long and involved read, but there's some invaluable resources on there. There's like a translated PDF of the actual card reader itself, which has got all the control codes in there and everything. So that's really helped me get to this point where it's actually pretty much production ready. So yeah, so ID2 and ID3 are good to go. It's just the initial D I haven't done yet. So for the other ones, if we go back to the card reader emulator, we've also got obviously maximum tune, which is on Chihiro. So for that, what I've done is, it's not quite as flashy. It's just got the name that I've given to the file, which is the one that you put down here, and the last save date. I do have a Chihiro, and at some point I might try that if I fancy a bit of a challenge. And in fact, there's a lot more information on that thread about maximum tune. It was the initial D stuff I was really struggling with, so that might be a bit of an easier route. And if you go back, go back, and then we've got Mario Kart, and similarly, it's just got the name of the card, and it just looks a bit prettier than just having a little text entry. Go back again, and then F0 is the same, just Captain Falcon there. And the last save date. If I ever do manage to get a Triforce, I might give these a go, because these have got some interesting custom icons in there as well. That is the end of a very long and rambly update, which I hope you found interesting. Yeah, so it's been a long road getting this card reader emulator up and running, but it is so close now, really good. So once all this is finished, I will package everything up and do a full release, and I may well push an incremental release for the card reader stuff if anyone's just interested in that. Yeah, and that is pretty much it for now. Unless I could do a demo. Tell you what, I'll make a separate video demoing the card reader actually working. The issue I've got with that is that because the fan in this damn thing is so flipping loud, it's difficult to talk over. So that might be a video that has no narration, or at least it'll have an introduction and then some very loud fans and a bit of initial D action. Yeah. Anyway, I really am wittering on. So anyway, yeah. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.